We're so glad you're here. I see many people in the room that I know face to face. It's so good to see you. And everybody online, um, in the Facebook side, we're so glad you're here. We have a really special guest today, Carrie Waller. I had the honor of meeting her in Texas for an event with Daniel Smith and a Fabriano event. And Carrie Waller is an internationally recognized artist who's won awards all over, and most recently has been named Master Artist with Fabriano. And she specializes in glass work. And a fun thing about Carrie is that she has also been in many different many countries and around the world as an artist. And it's encouraging to have somebody who has had this breadth of experience. One aspect I really enjoy about Carrie Waller is her perception of light and then how she communicates that and how she teaches the rest of us in being able to see and experience the whole prismatic range of the light moving through glass. Carrie, I'm looking forward to this hour. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
We're so glad you're here. I see many people in the room that I know face to face. It's so good to see you.
Let me see if there is
Everybody.
an echo. Can you please help just put the mic off for now for our guests? Just a gentle reminder. Thank you.
I
Okay.
think it was coming from my side. Sorry.
Sorry, Anne Marie. Your mic is off.
I think the feedback was coming from my side. I apologize.
Oh, okay. No worries. So, in case they're wondering where's John, did it?
Thank you, Ethel. And John and Catherine and many brand ambassadors, at least 14, are in Creative World right now in Frankfurt. So if anybody's in the local area, you can stop by the table and be able to talk to them face to face. And it's just a joy to be able to. They're as nice face to face as they are online. They're really a spectacular
Yeah.
group of people. And it makes me happy to see several people here on the online window that I've had the joy of meeting face to face at these events. It's just really special. So they are at Creative World in Frankfurt. Welcome.
Yee. Okay, so we're going to proceed as usual. We will share some artworks, and of course, we'd love for you, our friends, to connect with our guest artist. She's guested like I think this is the third, fourth, right, Carrie?
I've
And
lost track. I think so.
and yeah, it always feels same but different. You always learn a unique or new tip tricks from Carrie. So if you haven't followed Carrie via socials, please do so. This is her Instagram handle, Carrie Waller Art. And of course, she's also on Facebook. It's Carrie.Roets Waller. And the next couple of slides are some of the selected artworks of Carrie. And I'm sure you want to hear something about the artwork here. So we start with this piece.
This is one of my most recent pieces. It's called Ready to Serve. And I love glass and reflections, and this has all of those things. But it's also a very personal piece because it's talking about we are a military family, and it's talking about being ready to serve in many different ways, and kind of how, as a spouse and support, you have these dishes ready to go, but sometimes things happen and they're empty at the moment. So anyway, it's a very personal piece and a nod to the US and living in Japan and all around the world. And this piece is called Tea with Friends. And I am fascinated and obsessed with glass and the reflections. And I fell in love with painting glass because look in this teapot. When you see how the books and everything are distorted. So that's a stack of books back behind some of my favorite artists. And then when you put liquid in a teapot and the glasses reflect all those crazy distortions, that's what I love about painting glass. And it makes me so excited. So this is a favorite painting of mine. This is called Summer Cuties. And once again, I'm trying to play around with all those distortions, having water in them, somehow, different levels of water, and then those striped dishes behind. And my inspiration, I was at my friend's house, and we were sitting at the table, and we both have the same dishes from living in Japan, but I was sitting in her kitchen in Atlanta, and she had the same blue dishes that I did, and they had oranges for breakfast and a glass of water. And so I went home and had to set up a still life. And I just love how many colors come through what is seemingly is a blue and white dish. But when you see all those pinks and blue, there's just a whole rainbow of colors coming through those glasses. But it's a good memory of friendship. This is called Studio Reflections. So not only do I like to take still life and use the outside dramatic sunlight, but I also love to use fairy lights and different lights like this and have these dramatic things. So I was playing around a lot here with these metallic teapots that I had, and then these pillars of glass. And it's called Studio Reflections because if you look in the main one, you can see kind of my hand taking a picture, and that's my entire studio reflected in that one teapot. So it's kind of my little world. And this is called Denkyu, which means light bulb in Japan. And so I started painting light bulbs. It was for 2014. I think that was my kind of a series that broke out, and kind of I've gotten a lot of recognition over light bulbs, and a lot of people want me to paint light bulbs with them. And so the whole idea with the painting of the light bulbs is taking these objects that are these utilitarian objects that we use every day. I mean, who doesn't use a light bulb every single day? And these light bulbs work so hard for us. And I'm trying to elevate everything I paint and put kind of a spotlight, give it its glamour shot, and show how beautiful these objects are. And so that's what I was trying to portray with these these light bulb paintings, my series. And then today, this is what I will be demoing today. This little teacup and a window. So we've got a couple other pictures. I'm going to show you a little bit about my setup. I'll talk to you a little bit. So this is my studio assistant, Dublin, but I wanted to show you that she is sitting on my setup, and she's very helpful, as you can see, but she's always involved in the process. But if you can see the table below, and Ethel, if you can go to the next picture, I just want to show you, I have this little piece of marble that I carry around. It's like 2 foot by 2 foot. I have a lot of different surfaces that are portable like this, and it's sitting on a TV tray, and I can move it wherever the light is in my house or take it outside, and I can set up my still life object, and then I can twist it around and get that shadow, that reflection to go in different directions. So this is how I am a lot of times doing these still life setups, something that I can move portably on these tables, just a little behind the scenes. And then here is my drawing for today. This is where I start with that. And then I have a masking map to show you. I use a lot of masking to capture all the sparkles in my paint in the glass. So there's my masking. I use Holbein's masking, which has a little blue tint to it. It's a little saturated in this picture. But so you can see where it is. And then if you can go to my desktop view, Ethel, I'm going to show them my pan paints, and then we'll go into the video.
Okay, sure.
What is the masking tape you're using, Carrie?
The masking fluid I'm using, I'll show you on my desk. Can you go to the top cam? Thank you.
Carrie, top camera.
Or I think it just says Carrie Weller.
You are getting a lot of exclamation marks from the web page. Exquisite, stunning, wow, amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear Stella. Just at this point, since you've noticed the comments on Facebook, if you don't mind, we'll appreciate it, Stella, if you could help just share comments or field questions for Carrie.
That's what I would do, darling.
Thank you, Stella. Okay, so this is my masking fluid. So then, since there was a question, And I use a ruling pen, which of course I can't locate right at this moment, but I use a ruling pen to apply my masking fluid. And this masking fluid is nice and thin. And so anyway, and it has a little bit of a tint to it. So that is what I mask with. And then I wanted to show you before I paint slowly, my paintings take a little bit of time. So I have done a video today that has sped up the process so I can walk you through it. And then I'm going to do a little live painting at the end to finish it during this demo. But here are my pans. I have them in these little containers and they're labeled on the bottom. Some are, you can see my favorites are more worn and they've sat in the water, but I did use waterproof labels and a waterproof Sharpie so that I can label the bottom of the paints. And then I put them in kind of analogous families. The ones that I use all the time are these colors I use all the time. So I have done some where I've used my favorites in one of these little things, but I like them because they're like little pill containers, but they hinge on the back side so that I can use them. And then also you can stick your thumb through. And when I'm traveling, I pile them all up together and I run a bungee cord through them and have them like a little necklace of painting things, but there's 7 in each of those. And then other than that, I use synthetic brushes for the most part and pretty small brushes, size 4 rounds. And I wanted to show you, this is my reference photo. You saw the picture beforehand where I've saturated the colors, but this is where I'm starting from. And then we're going to go now to the video and I'm going to walk you through my process up to where I am to right now. And then I'll finish my painting with you today.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are back with that masked drawing. It's hard to see until we get some paint on there, what's going on. But I am doing the background first in this one. Normally, depending on what I'm doing, I normally kind of paint from right to left and do a little section at a time. This one, I went ahead and did the background first because I wanted to work on the teacup today with you in the live. So I'm doing my background. And this, I spent a lot of time having just a plain black background. And now I'm trying to do, which is more of that Dutch still life kind of technique. So now I'm trying to have a little bit of a scene back behind and tell a little more of the story or set a mood. So I'm using manganese blue hue right here first to get some of these. It's kind of a tree winter, dead. It's like the trees out of my winter window. So I'm using cobalt blue, green gold, and manganese blue hue, and some undersea green I just dropped in. So I'm trying to get this real wet on wet impressionistic kind of vibe. And I struggled a little with this for a while, and then I'll show you later what I arrived on to get it more. I had some granulating colors, and I had, some colors you use all the time and they work well together. And then sometimes when you use it, I introduced a couple of new colors that I wasn't as familiar with on the regular. And so there was a little more granulation in there. So I had to adapt like we all do. And I'll show you today what I have arrived on. I'm also using some Prussian blue. Yesterday we did some colors and we had Prussian blue as one of them. And I don't typically have that in my palette, but I use that as my dark in here today, that dark blue. And there's the undersea green. Undersea green is a great color. And then the green gold just kind of pops out that vibrant. And some cobalt green. I'm using some cobalt green as well. And so I'm getting this impressionistic.
Carrie, I just want to
Yes.
mention that we send in the chat the reference photo in case anyone wants to paint along with you.
Yes, the colors, I started with manganese blue, and then I used some green gold, undersea green, Prussian blue, and then now I'm getting into quin gold, which I think quin gold is in every painting that I do. So I'm getting some of this quin gold. So I've got and then cobalt green in there. And I am not a limited palette person, can you tell? So I kind of use all the colors in the toolbox, and I try to use some new colors and introduce them. That's how you find out I always equate, I talked about this yesterday, my paints being like friends on the playground, and or kids on the playground, you find out which ones get along, which ones don't get along. Some work beautifully together, some it's more of a struggle. So some are bullies, some are shy. And so that's how I kind of think of my paints. And so when I'm doing these, I like to introduce new colors and see, sometimes you have these magical things and you're like, oh, they work so nicely together. And other times you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to include this. And so you're always learning. And so that's what I do like. That's the advantage of being a brand ambassador, having access to a lot of colors, using those same colors that I was talking about. And you'll see me kind of going back. Which paintings are the biggest bully? I describe my bully colors aren't, sometimes they're the extroverts. Maybe that's a better word. So like your phthalos and your real staining colors and the colors that just poof, pop, like opera pink's probably one of, also sometimes the ones that have a little more like, there's a yellow, bismuth vanadate yellow. I don't use it in this painting, but I use it a lot. It's a more opaque yellow, and that yellow can come in and pack a punch and take on any colors that you want. And I'm using Arches 156-pound cold press paper. And 156-pound is in between 140 and 300. I started using it a long time ago. It can be harder to find. You normally have to buy a 10-pack of it, but it's my go-to paper. I'm dropping in a little Quinn Violet that we were using yesterday and some Quinn Gold over here. It's a little softer on this side. And then some of my green gold.
Carrie, there is a question from on the web page from Kim Albright. Does she create the drawing trace or a freehand?
I kind of get I will normally transfer it from either a sketch or transfer it from a photo where I print it off, one or the other. And I try to get the big shapes transferred, and then I do a lot of drawing with my brush to get the details because I don't want too many pencil lines on there. But I do want to know maybe the right angles or the that kind of thing. So I will transfer that.
Yeah, it shows on your sketch there is also a lot of freehand.
Yeah. And I think I paint with the brush almost as, you're kind of, and then the masking becomes a crucial part for me. I call it a masking map, and it literally, where I mask helps me find things. Some of these paintings I do are very complicated, like the light bulbs, and you'll have like glass bulbs showing through bulbs and reflections showing through all of them. And you can get very lost in those paintings. And so the masking is another way for me to identify where I am. So I mask, important areas and shapes so it can, not only does it preserve my whites, but it also gives me a location. Okay, this is where I am. This is the next step, because it's very easy to get lost.
And you water the way you go.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
You water. You go and water whatever part you would like to.
Yes,
to go
I don't.
in.
This is a lot of wet on wet for me. This is not my typical MO because I'm trying to do this more impressionistic background and blurred background. This is one of my challenges. Like I said, I did a lot of still life with black backgrounds, kind of that Dutch, traditional Dutch still life with the black background. Makes everything dramatic and pop. But with this, I'm trying to get a little more of a story. So I'm doing these more blurred backgrounds, and this has been a challenge. The colors I'm putting down on the surface right now are cobalt teal blue, some of the Quinn rose, and the quinacridone gold are the colors that I'm using on this marble surface down here. But I'm really trying to set a stage. Janet Fish is one of my heroes, and she would have these still lifes, but they also told a story in the background. You might have a birthday cake, with a whole bunch of all the birthday hats and everything on a table, but in the background there's a blurred, you can tell it's a kid's party. So I'm trying to work a little bit on telling the narrative through some of these kind of blurred backgrounds and playing with this soft edges, hard edges, lost edges, found edges with my paintings. So right now this is very loosey-goosey for me. So it's an outside of my comfort zone. And that's what I'm trying to do, is push myself outside of my comfort zone with my painting so I can grow. So you're watching one of those scenarios now.
Carrie, are you willing to share with us what was your journey that brought you to glass?
When I first started painting, I was following I didn't know what I wanted to paint or what I was really into. In fact, I did a lot of sepia paintings in sepia and monochromatic at first, which really helped me learn my values. So I think that was even my fear of color originally helped me learn my values. Oh, where did the rest of the video go?
I think it restarted if you're able to find that
You
place.
restarted.
Ethel, is that maybe something you can help with?
You mean the camera? Sorry.
The video restarted.
From the beginning.
Oh, hang on.
So, Carrie, recently we were joking that every live session, something different and new happens. And that week, the person's light bulb started on fire.
Oh my
Live.
gosh.
You're doing great. And Stella has also had electricity and internet cut off in the middle of light. So
Yeah.
I've had that happen before. So we
It
jumped
adds
ahead.
excitement.
We jumped ahead. We have a lot of the shadow done, but I'm getting into the fun parts. You can see right now how crucial the masking is. All those little, my husband calls these marble dishes. Candlewick is the official name, but he inherited these from his grandmother. And so they have the little, he called them marbles when he was a kid, marbles on the edge of the dish, but the little glass balls on there. So it's so fun to paint those. So the masking is crucial in that those little balls, see all that glitter and reflections in there. And then the shadows on the bottom. I did more wet on wet in there. And then I'm coming into the cup right here with that manganese blue hue, which I don't use very often, and I will be using it a lot more. It's beautiful. Sometimes you're looking for that kind of icy, maybe is the wrong word. Anyway, that real pretty blue, like that very pop of light blue. And so I really was enjoying that manganese blue hue. But I started painting glass as a challenge. I was following along an art marketing podcast, and they suggested we put a calendar together. And it really helped me to think about a body of work and 12 paintings that would all go together like in a calendar, which essentially is kind of like having your own, little show of things. And so in that process of doing that, I painted a lot of different things to figure out what I wanted to do. And I did a still life, and I used actually a bowl, a candlewick bowl, a big one that had apples in it. And I literally pulled my curtains down off the window because it was a striped pretty fabric. And I set it up, and I called that painting Scarlet because it was a reference to like Gone with the Wind, where she pulled the curtains down and made a dress. And also the apples were red. And so I fell in love. I fell in love with the glass and the puzzles. It's like putting puzzles together, little pieces, and the abstraction. That this literally, you could zoom on any portion of this and have an abstract, a little abstract painting that you could blow up. In fact, I did a series a few years ago where I blew up a section and did some abstracts from the reflections in the glass. But it's really, just how I see glass and how I see all these reflections and colors that just really excite me. And that's where I got hooked. And I'm coming and now I'm getting the values in. I'm using Payne's Blue Gray, a little undersea green, very transparent wash of undersea green to get those soft greens in there.
You achieve beautiful soft edges, Carrie. That is, you really know when to get into the paint to keep the water in, and to have those beautiful soft edges.
Well, thank you. And that's, really painting just a lot. So you learn your dry times with your paper.
Yes.
And also different times of year. We're in winter right now, so it might be a little drier and your paint, and then it dries a little faster. In the summer, it's a little more humid. So you kind of start to, it's a push and a pull and you learn to figure, and that's part of the reason why people will make fun of me because I use this size 4 brush all the time. But there's only so many things that I want to change up. And you've got all these factors, the water and the paint and the pigment and da da da. But if I can control, I have one little brush and I know exactly how much water goes in it. So it might be the control freak in me. So that's why I end up sticking with this little size 4 brush more than I should probably, but I know exactly how much water is in that brush. And so that is
if you paint in California, it will be exactly the reverse.
right. And I'm getting those reflection in the top of this cup, all those little abstracts in there. So if you really, if you start to break everything down, as an artist, what we're doing is showing everybody how we see the world, right? And so I want to portray what I'm seeing, all these colors that are erupting and all, in this glass. And look at that shadow. It could just be a solid gray shadow, but I have a myriad of colors coming through that shadow. And that's where I love to play and have fun. And then I'll be doing some tweaking here in a minute. You can see the shadow on when you paint circles or circles in perspective, ellipses, they get off. So my shadow's it looks like it's falling off the table right now. So I'll come in and fix that in a minute. I'm pulling in my reds now. So I've got some Pyrrole red coming in, and I'll be doing the tea colors. I did use bismuth vanadate. Here's my bismuth vanadate. It's an opaque yellow. And then I'm using Aussie red gold in there as well, another gorgeous color. And here's some of that Pyrrole red again. Pyrrole red and Pyrrole orange are two of my go-tos. I glaze them on each other. I'm also using some Quin magenta right here at the
When you
bottom.
choose your colors, it doesn't bother you to mix opaque with transparents.
No. In fact, I utilize it like that bismuth vanadate. You can water it down and get it fairly transparent, but also that color when I'm doing like the fairy light paintings, that when I showed the studio reflections where I want those lights to kind of explode and have these firework effects or halo, that bismuth vanadate just comes in like a trooper. And that's why I call it a bully color, but it's just strong, and I've got some Pearly Maroon coming in here. So this is a tea bag inside of the cup of tea. So you're getting that reflections of the light coming through. And so I'm really getting my values. You notice that I like to come in right away with a lot of pigment. I have Quin burnt orange in here as well. I like to come in with a lot of pigment at one time. I don't like to do 1,001 glazes. I paint kind of cellularly and finish an area at a time because I don't want to come back and repaint this 5 times. So I'm going to get my pigment strong right off the gate and I get my values set immediately so that I'm not wasting a lot of time coming back and forth and it's just part of my process. But a lot of my students, have trouble with value. And this is one way I remedied that is by setting my value immediately. So in the middle of the tea, that dark area, everything needs to rise to that now. So it's important that you get those strong dark values in there so that you can see how far you need to push the pigments around it.
Using this technique, have you ever had to slow down and back off and do more gentle layers? Have you ever encountered a challenge that forced you to change the technique you're using here?
Yeah, I mean, like this background, I'm not happy with it at all right now. So I'm going to come back in. And that one, doing the wet on wet, it dries. Watercolor is going to dry, about 15% lighter as it dries. And so when you're doing the wet on wet, I can't control it as much. So I'm not happy with that background. I'm going to come in and do some techniques in a minute to work on that. But so that pushes me, right? Because it's not my typical, I can't control the one little area and get the values where I want it. And I kept having to go back and add paint. And as I was doing that, it was changing some of the shapes back there. So yeah, I think, you adapt and you figure out and you learn. That's what we're trying to do with each of our paintings. So here's where I'm adapting. See that big hake brush? I came in and I'm now getting some texture back there. I'm putting some some lines. I'll show you on the painting when we come and do the live painting in a minute. I'm starting to come in and get some texture back there to remedy the fact that I'm not happy with how the washes work together. Sometimes you get these beautiful mingles, and I don't know which paint was causing, it was not mingling beautifully up there. So I'm trying to work that. And now I've got an eradicator brush, a scrubber brush, and I'm coming in and pulling out highlights. So I do mask, but I also come back and I'm softening all those spots, or some of them. I'm pretty good with my ruling pen and my masking now, so that's another learning curve. And I fixed my shadow for the most part on there, so it's not falling off the table anymore.
You mentioned your technique of pushing the value to the strongest value right at the beginning. As an artist, that takes a lot of courage and a fair amount of experience. Do you have any advice or encouragement for the newer artist to have that courage to hit it first perfectly with the value?
I think if you take a class with me, I'd get you there fast. but you have to, I think, just don't be scared. People are so timid about it, but you know what is really sinking a painting is not having the value in there. So don't be scared. Okay, we're going to come now to my live desk, and I'm going to paint with you now and finish this painting. But don't be scared to put more pigment on the table than you think you need. You can lift it and it dries lighter. I guarantee it's not going to be too much. So, my light just fell. Speaking of lights. So anyway, can you see now on here the texture that I have in the background? I used this brush and I came in while it was still kind of damp and just pulled across back here. And then I did it in the kind of a cross-hatch fashion. And I added some more pigment onto my actual brush and then came back in with like the manganese blue hue and got some more lines up there. I like that much better than having those. I just didn't like how those were fitting. And so now I like this texture a lot in juxtaposition with this teacup. So we're going to come in and I'm going to work this area. I have my little tea string, and I do want to show you that even though I had this line masked so I could have the string of the tea. Here's the little tag down here. And there's the tea bag. I had it white, but I've come in. Do you see I didn't make it one solid color? I've got some yellow, some quin gold, quin burnt orange, a little pyrrole orange here. I've differentiated so that we have some breaks in that line and it's not a solid line. That could have become really just a blue, but it's kind of this dance now. And I like to do every area of my painting that way. So we're going to come in now and I'm going to work the remaining last bit of this painting. So I have my Aussie red gold. I'm going to come into the top. This is the water line of this painting. And we're going to get this in here, and we want to get the right color. And good ways to check your value, and you've probably heard all this before, but it's so easy now with our phones to take a picture and turn it grayscale. So you can turn your reference photo grayscale, turn your, I'm adding Bismuth Vanadate right at the edge, coming back in with Aussie Red Gold. I don't use a palette. So I'm doing all these color mixes on my paper and letting these colors blend together. And so I want to I don't want to have too much of one area. So I had Aussie Red Gold. I don't want a solid line of Aussie Red Gold. It's going to change. So it's going to be yellow over here. It's going to get darker. I've got some Quin burnt orange that I'm adding over here. So I want color differentiation and things happening to make it more interesting. I'm coming back in on the top with a little Quin burnt orange. Wipe my brush, get that out of here. I don't want that in there. And then we're going to come down and we're going to work another shape. Let's see. Let's come up and finish this top while it's drying. I'm going to come in with my Quin burnt orange and get some of this. I've got masking still on the cup. I've taken it off around the other areas, but I have masking on the cup. And I do take my masking off as I go. And I'm going to get some Payne's Blue Gray. Payne's Blue Gray shows up in just about every glass painting. It's a great neutral. It can get really strong. It can be almost bully status, but it can also be really shy if you need it to be. and more subtle. It's a workhouse color for me that I use all the time. I'm coming in with my thin line here, getting some little lines. Anytime I have an area, I want to make sure that there's things happening and shapes happening so that it doesn't get boring. And also anywhere you have, I'm going to tone this down with a little undersea green. Anywhere you have like an inch of a color, your eye is going to go to a block of color. So you want to have differentiation and color things happening within that. Okay, I'm going to come in now with a little Quin burnt orange. I'm going to come in. This is all dry because I did it yesterday. I'm going to put this Quin burnt orange. The quinacridones are, I would say, kind of like life of the party. Phthalos and quinacridones. You can all.
You do use mostly transparent paints.
I mostly yes. I'm not opposed to opaque paints, and I use them when I need, like I said, like that yellow where I need explosions of color, to push paint away. But I like less granulating colors with the glass. I think that's more important to me. In fact, when I first started painting, I did, I, as most of us, probably learned watercolor on our own, and I did not understand why anybody would want a granulating color. I thought it was like a mistake because I'm always painting glass and something, where I'm not wanting a lot of granulation. And my friends had to explain to me that most people want granulating colors. And so I'm a little odd in that. But when you're doing smooth glass, it's not always desirable for me. I'm going to get some undersea green, and this has a little granulation in it.
Carrie, would you share with us the video that we started with? About how long of painting was the preparation for this?
Oh, I can tell you exactly. I think it was 5 hours.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. That's one good or bad when you start recording yourself. You can't hide, you can't lie about how long it took. You can't say, oh, that took me just an hour or two.
And do you do that all in one sitting, or do you do that several times, like over a day or 2 days?
I like what happens normally is I'm a binge painter, I think. And so I will have a deadline. This is typically what happens. Nothing makes me happier than having a deadline and getting to stay up all night long and paint. And so last night I did just that. I've had multiple things going on this week, and we did a demo yesterday. And so I was up until 5 in the morning painting, but that is my happy place. Nobody bugs you in the middle of the night.
That is a good timing.
Maybe my cats. My cats don't. They're nocturnal, right? And when my dog was alive, he used to stay up with me. But other than that, you can't run an errand. You can't go to the grocery store. Most people are asleep at your house. Nobody's really calling you in the middle of the night. So I'm a night owl. And I combat that. Some people say, well, how do you? I use the full spectrum lighting. And paint. And that's one of the things when I started painting, I love watercolor and I love the way I love paper and I love watercolor, and I always have. But another reason I chose watercolor was if I had to like change my clothes and to worry about, if you get paint all over your clothes when you're doing other mediums, if I had to change clothes, and I wanted to simplify all the things in my life, and being able to just come in and sit down and paint and not having to worry about changing an outfit
Did the other people in your home and animals have a factor in that also, of keeping them safe?
Yes, absolutely. Before I had kids, I had pets, and you don't want your pets. And it's not good to breathe some of that stuff, and you have to be more careful. I think the big thing, well, I really have never painted in oil, but one of the big things when I found out, I think early on when I started painting in watercolor, and I found out somebody's like trash can caught on fire because they had put towels with, like the oils from, what is it? It's the thing you clean, like the turpentine, and they had it spontaneously combust in a trash can. I was like, no, thank you. I'll stick with my watercolors. I have enough studio hazards as it is. My cats are always drinking my water, and we don't need spontaneously combusting trash cans. This is the Quinn burnt orange. But I do love all art, and I collect art, and I have all different mediums that I collect. Just personally, I want to practice with watercolor.
Oh, I
And
see Anna is already painting.
and I try hard to and my husband was really good early on. He's very supportive, and I, it's very easy. We're creative people, right? And so we like to try lots of different things. And my husband was very good about saying, stay in your lane and really, perfect one thing. And that's very good advice, because otherwise you start getting into all these different mediums and this and that and become not as focused. So I like to stay focused.
I came to wisdom in a different direction. I agree. That's so important. As artists, we want to do everything.
It's fun to do everything. And I'm not saying that I don't enjoy, like, to me, this is my main thing, but it's fun to play. So if I play, I might do something fun, but it's just, I'm getting a little bit of Bordeaux right now. It's another beautiful color. But I try to really kind of stay in my lane.
Carrie, would you be willing to share also, through your life experience, what's some of the wisdom you can share that helped you grow and push past benchmarks that were holding you back, like to reach new levels of skill? What are some of the things that have assisted that we can glean from your experience?
Well, I think one thing that we all struggle with is sometimes losing motivation or having a block, and having to push past that. And also, it helped me learn that, like I say, I binge paint because I will get into one painting, and sometimes it's hard to start a painting, and you're like, I love doing this, so why do I like drag my feet starting something? And I did learn that's kind of part of the creative process, where or maybe it's just me, I procrastinate, but it can be part of the creative process where you just kind of are dragging your feet a little bit. And so one thing that I did to combat that is I've had a group of people. I'm dropping some bismuth vanadate in, see how that takes over and spreads. I painted with a group of people online because where we move around a lot, and so and then we also exhibited together. And so forming this little group of painters, and I'm the only watercolor artist now, but forming this group kept me motivated. And whenever I was ready to like throw in the towel, I'm getting some Pyro Red. Whenever I was ready to throw in the towel, you have somebody you can talk to, and they can talk you down. And so I think having like set yourself up, and now with, we're all here on Zoom together. The Daniel Smith ambassadors are from everywhere in the world, and it's so much easier now to be able to get together virtually, if not in person. And so I'm going to do a little Bordeaux up here. Try it if you have struggles in that area. I feel like we are solitary creatures that we go to our studios and paint, so sometimes we need a little community. That's what these lives are great for. And there's probably people in this group that would love to get together and paint. So, reach out. That's how I met the people. I had never met them in person. One of the ladies reached out and said, hey, do you want to be in a group? And that's how we formed our group. And we all lived all over the country and world, because I was living in Japan for most of that time. And the first time we all met in person was on a trip to Italy. That we've been exhibiting and painting together for over a decade now. I'm gonna soften this white spot. Now I have this one area in here. We're gonna go in with some Quin burnt orange. And I'm trying to be mindful of my wet areas and my dry areas. I don't use a hair dryer very often. Sometimes when I'm demoing, I don't prefer to use it. I'll put it that way. I think it changes. It can dull the paint, I feel like sometimes. So I try to let things naturally, but then you sit and watch paint dry a lot. So you gotta do what you gotta do. But my preferred method is to let it dry naturally. And this is that Quimburn orange. We're gonna come in with a little Pyro red now. So I'm gonna get some life in here. So I like to glaze my reds and oranges a lot, or drop in, have them mingle. So this is Pyro red. I'm dropping into that Quinburn orange. I'm gonna clean up. I'm always babysitting other areas. So I'm getting a little spreading here. So I'm gonna clean that up. And then I'm gonna come in now with Bordeaux. So while this is really wet, I'm coming in with a creamier consistency. I don't want this to spread as much. I would like to stick mostly where I'm putting it. It's wet, so we're gonna have a little bit of spreading, but I wanna try to control it. So I'm coming with a creamier consistency of that Bordeaux paint so that it'll hopefully stay where I tell it to stay. And see how I'm leaving some spaces? You can't see because my hands are in my light, but I'm trying to leave some of that red bright in the middle. Clean up, clean up. I always think of the cleanup song that I used to sing with my kids. Okay, we're gonna come back in with Quin burnt orange. I tend to do a lot of sound effects when I paint when I'm teaching. And so one of my students, her husband said, because she works with a few different people, he said, which teacher are you working with tonight? And she said the dot 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 because I like to do these little noises like swoop to entertain yourself while you're sitting in the studio, right?
You listen to
Dropping.
music also while you're painting?
I actually don't. I find that distracting. So I know this is strange, but it's how my brain works. I think it's distracting to listen to music, but I will throw on work. I need talking. I need like podcasts or something. I think podcast makes me go into autopilot while I paint, which is the good thing. So I'm kind of intuitively painting and listening to what I'm doing. Music does not take me in that space. So I'm a podcast listener or book or audiobooks or I can throw a movie on if it's one that I don't have to pay too much attention to or something I've seen before, TV shows I've seen before. I'm glazing now over with that Quin orange. Do you listen to music, Anna?
I prefer silence. So
Oh,
it's
I
interesting
get
finding
that.
another artist that does not listen to music.
I get that. I totally get that. Sometimes, especially if I'm recording, you are in silent, you're recording you're talking through a painting or something, so you're not listening to. I would encourage if you that's one of the coolest things that happened a side effect of teaching Zoom classes or doing like demos like this where you have to talk through what you're doing is you learn about your process tremendously. So even if you're not teaching a class, kind of talk to your through your process when you're painting, and you will learn so much about your own process. And I've formulated ways to explain, kind of like the the paints being kids on the playground, or, I've formulated different ways to explain things through listening to myself talk about, having to talk about how I paint.
I
And
appreciate the skill that you have of being capable of speaking clearly about what you're doing while doing the intuitive aspect of painting. It's two different parts of the brain, and it's a hard teaching skill. So I
it,
appreciate.
I thank you very much. I think some people it's more, and I really feel for our international friends that are trying to speak in another language, speak in not their native language, paint. I can't even imagine. So, yeah. So,
I
it
don't
is.
think it's that difficult though, because it helps me when I paint and I talk and explain what I'm doing. So it's very easy because you follow your process. I never thought it's that difficult to
Well,
talk
that is
about.
really good. Well, I didn't think too much about it until I was demoing in Fabriano, and my painting partner was from France. And he said, I don't really, it's hard for me to speak in English and paint. So I think it's all, what you are comfortable with.
Yes, in a different language it is. And actually, when I'm in Bulgaria and I have to demo, it's very hard even in my mother's language to speak and explain because I never learned
Mm.
to paint when I was in Bulgaria. So
That
it
is
comes always in
interesting.
English. Even in
That
my native language, it's not easy to explain it.
that is fascinating, Stella.
Yeah, it is. Carrie, do you paint? Do you finish one painting, or you paint in many paintings at once?
Ideally, I like to do one painting at a time.
One paint. Hmm.
Practicality wise, it
Yeah.
doesn't always happen that way, but that's my ideal. But I do not like to let paintings sit around too often. It happens sometimes when I'm doing demos or, things that are not like studio paintings that I'm doing for shows. I might have some demos that are sitting around, but I try really hard to finish each painting. And my mindset for each painting is I'm trying to have the next best piece. I really try to tackle every painting. I'm a real challenge person, and some of the best advice I got was early on from an artist, Jane Freeman, and she told me, whenever you get like rejected, she never looked at it. She always looked at it as her biggest challenge. How could she do the next best thing after that? She never tried not to sit down and get too upset about it, and she just took it on like a challenge. And so I liked that kind of like plan of attack in my head, and so I really try to like, okay, what can I do that's bigger and better, and the next best thing. So I'm always kind of pushing myself that way, but we all have different processes and
I appreciated. I had the joy of being able to see you give that presentation in Fabriano, Fort Worth, Texas. And it was fascinating how you presented because you were working in this cellular method of very limited, tight, structured, working straight from the image. And your counterpart working on the other table, you were working back to back, was the exact opposite. And it was so good to see complementary and the counter of the different philosophies and the different methods of handling the brush and the different methods of wetting your paper, et cetera. It was brilliant to see.
I think
Was it Ida in Texas who painted with you? I don't
I
remember.
painted a French gentleman. I'll have to look up his name. It's
Oh
escaping me.
yes,
Was it
Um,
Jerome?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Was it Jerome?
Yes, thank you.
Jerome. That's right. Jerome was painting with you.
Yes. And so, yeah, and talk about doing a demo on steroids. You go in and you're dually back to back. You can't see what each other's doing. We weren't facing each other. And you're trying to paint, do a great demo, and also incorporate each other into it was really like, I was glad that was not my first demo. But my friend, it was her first demo, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this could have been my first time out the gate. But it was a definite challenge, very good challenge. I was thrilled to do it and learned so much from it, but it was definitely a lot. I had to go decompress after that for a minute.
I can imagine.
It was amazing. You did such a great job, and you helped your counterpart Jerome do feel comfortable also, even though he was doing it in a second language.
Yeah, we worked really well together, you know, and that was our first time meeting on top of all of it. Okay, I'm gonna come back in. Do you see? I'm waiting for this to dry. I took my masking off up here, and I'm coming back in now with some Aussie Red Gold. I want to tone down these bright whites. Some I want to keep, you know, like the sparkle down here. I'll kind of go through. Some I diffuse it and like soften. Some I want to keep bright white, like in these marbles, so they sparkle. But this guy is too bright, and so I'm taking the Aussie Red Gold. This is good to have a transparent color that you come in to soften these with, because if you used an opaque, it leaves like a cloud, little ghost ring around it. So I always like to use Quinn Gold or Aussie or some kind of transparent color. And now I'm going to pull the rest of that masking. And that's the other thing. Masking can get, I've had paintings that went on to big shows. I left some a little bit of masking on. So it never is quite all gone.
I looked down at Facebook and we have a I'm just glanced at it and it says, Carrie, how do you decide the colors you've chosen for your artwork?
So I have my go-tos, right? Like this palette right here. I can't think of a painting that I probably, you know, well, we did purples the other day, so I did use Quinn Gold, but most of the time I have my favorites. So these are Aussie Red Gold, Quinn Burnt Orange, Pyrrole Red, Pyrrole Orange, and my Bismuth Vanadate. So that pop, and then this is Quinopthalone Yellow. This is a more transparent yellow. So if I don't want the opaque. So these are in all of them. Payne's Blue Gray and just about everything. If I'm doing a black, I mix indigo and sepia together. I have a big pan of that. So I have my go-to colors. So I really kind of go and look at my photo reference and I call it shopping the color. You know, I start going through and thinking, okay, what color do I need? What color is here? And then I start pulling out my favorites that are tried and true, undersea green. And then I like to incorporate some of those surprise paint colors, right? So that I can see maybe there's some color combo that I really love. In this painting, that manganese blue hue, I don't know why I'm not using that more often. Cobalt blue, I dropped down in here in this shadow. So I need to add some cobalt blue in some other areas. Anytime I introduce a color, it's good to have it in 3 different places, and it's good if it's triangulated. So if I have cobalt blue here, do have the manganese blue up here, so it's kind of pulling, but I'll drop some maybe cobalt blue up here, but you want to kind of triangulate your colors so that your eye is drawn into that area. So manganese here, manganese blue hue here. So I probably need to throw in, let's do that now. We're going to throw in a little manganese blue hue right in here. So I really am always thinking about triangulation and rule of odds, where you have an odd number of shapes in your still life or an odd number of colors. So I'm always trying to have an odd number and then this triangulation, because you're basically directing people to look in certain areas. So if I do that, I have now created a triangle in here that's going to pull me into this section, in addition to leading lines that are pulling you in.
Carrie, Carol and Debbie from Australia is asking, I always like to ask artists if they have an absolute favorite artwork that they have painted. Why was it your favorite?
And I want to give a heads up, you're in the last few minutes of our time together.
Okay. I'm going to get some Carbazole Violet and just really pop a little darker in here. I think my favorite changes from time to time. I have a few different series, so I kind of have favorites within each series. So the light bulb painting behind me, and whenever you see it, one of the Denku, the one that was in the beginning, a lot of the ones in the front, the slides are some of my favorites in those series. That's why I chose them. But it's constantly evolving. And changing, but Tea with Friends, that one with the books behind it that I showed you, I just love that painting and I want to do more in that series. I liked all the graphicness of the text that was in there. I used my ruling pen to paint, do some of the text in there. You can use it like a calligraphy pen. So I would load it up with paint and do some of the lettering. But that was just really fun to paint.
Sometimes it's unexplainable. You just feel like it. You like some of your paintings.
All right, so I'm just about done with my demo. We're at our time, but I will continue. I pretty much am at a stopping place. I will go through, let things dry, and then I will pull masking and do finishing touches. This one, I have it all. I didn't tape it. A lot of times I have a taped border, but I went all the way to the edge. And I'm really thinking about mounting this on a board and varnishing it. Since it's a smaller piece, I've been doing that a lot lately. But anyway, I enjoyed painting with you today, and I hope, I think we had a nice afternoon together. So thank you.
Beautiful, Carrie.
All the questions, and thanks for sharing your wisdom and the time. The time went so fast. We had really
It did. Thank you, Anna, for hosting today. I appreciate it.
Let's show what everybody is painting. I know Anna, and I'm seeing John Ardila painting on the ceiling, and that intrigues me, John.
Human idea. Anyone else who painted along today, Carrie?
Great demo, Carrie.
Oh, thank you,
Carrie. Thank you.
I see.
Thank you, Carrie.
Oh, fun. I see some teacups. Very nice, Michelle.
Okay, let's put
there's Anna. Oh, yeah.
Miss Anna, there's one more.
Uh-huh.
Michelle.
Oh, and there's
anyone
Michelle.
else?
Yay.
I'm looking forward to the YouTube video.
Thank you, everybody.
Very nice.
And
we couldn't get your name, the artist, the other frame.
Yeah, it says iPad.
She's trying.
Wow, look, Michelle, an iPad.
You can see.
She's trying to unmute.
I'll definitely rewatch on YouTube and to do the whole thing.
Oh, great. You inspired a lot of people, Carrie.
Well, thank you. They're beautiful. Lovely colors.
Yeah.
It's
so
okay.
much fun. Lots of colors.
Thank you, Anna Marie, for hosting us today.
And here's Dublin.
Good to see you, Anna Marie.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you. I love it.
Thank you, Stella,
Thank
for
you.
helping us with
everyone.
Facebook comments.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Bye.
A wonderful weekend. See you all next week.
Bye.
And thank you, of course, to Carrie. For those who entered mid of Carrie's demo, yes, all our live sessions will be up on YouTube, or you simply go to our Facebook page. In our timeline, you'll see the recording. Most likely the top two.
The guest artist got her volume on. Can you share your name again, please?
Sandy.
Oh, okay, finally.
In Richmond.
Beautiful, Sandy.
Beautiful.
Sandy. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Thank you, Anna Candela. Thank you, Carrie. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Carrie.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.